Selling in person is something which is quite different, but selling online is totally altogether a different ballgame. In this video, we are going to discuss how you can actually tell stories for online sales. You have to understand that online sales is totally different from the offline face-to-face sales. So we are going to understand the strategies with which you can actually boost your online sales, if I may. Okay, let's try to understand what is the importance of storytelling in business, if I may. Storytelling, basically, it emotionally connects us to the people because this is who we are working with. When I was actually starting my education, someone told me that, Avinash, when you are in business, you have to understand that you are in business of selling to people. You're not selling something else, but you are in the business of selling to people. So you have to understand, you have to work with people, and people understand story using emotions. So this is how things work. Secondly, you have to create a purpose and drive actions. So without purpose, obviously human beings do not do anything. So you have to understand the story should actually be so purposeful that it can actually help you drive an action, if I may. Better understanding of your product, this is quite important. If we talk about majority of the products online these days, without a proper story, they just tell the specifications which nobody and almost nobody cares. So you have to understand that you have to give a better understanding of a product, how product can be used. And finally, if I may, allows brand to connect with customers effectively, because in online sales, if I talk about, you cannot technically see a person with the emotions. What you can see a text, if I may, you can see a video, you can hear an audio, if I may, but that is something they are actually looking into a mobile phone. I'll give you a very simple scenario. This is my mobile phone. Let's say if I'm going to start a video right now, technically I'm using my mobile phone. So obviously it is not going to help me connect with the brand if the message is not quite clear. Okay, now let's look into the steps with which actually you can improve your art of telling story. So first of all, you have to understand that you have to be very creative, and you have to start with visual storytelling. Now obviously you can see there is a huge text written background, but you can see right now me who is telling you various things about this particular video. So you have to understand, the more visual elements you add to your pitches, your landing pages, if I may, or your videos, if I may, the more people will be able to connect, because people like to see things, not read things, if I may. So this is very important. You have to focus on visual storytelling. Now, visual storytelling is not enough. You have to understand that if your elements, if I may, your message is not connecting with customers emotionally, it will be difficult. So you have to build emotional connections. So emotional connections is something with which, when I'm looking into my mobile phone, I can feel what is happening in the image, if I may. I should be able to feel what is happening in the video, because if I cannot feel, that means I'm not connected. And this feeling is very important, because this feeling is going to make your customers remember your brand almost forever. The next point is that you have to make your customers feel like hero of the story. Because let's say if your product is doing something, so you have to represent them as hero, because obviously this is everyone craves for. When I was a child, I always craved for becoming a Spider-Man or maybe a Superman, because that is something I wanted to do. So obviously you have to understand, if that is not possible, so you have to still let them feel like that they are heroes, because obviously this is going to be something which they always crave for, and this is something which will actually connect them quite passionately. Okay, now some of the business have these questions related to, like, how can I effectively attract customers to buy my product? So you have to understand, product is just a product. If the customer is not able to connect effectively, emotionally, if I may, with the product, they are not going to buy it. So you have to make sure that your product is something they can actually connect emotionally. Then how can I make my customer feel connected to my brand? You have to understand, emotions are the best way with which you can connect to the brand. There are so many advertisements. If I talk about, I'll also make sure that we put that those kind of advertisement in the link of the video, in the comment section of the video, where you can understand what kind of a way with which you can connect with your customers and make them feel like this is something they want to actually buy. And finally, how can I tell story when selling online? You have to understand, you have to use words which are quite important. We're going to make a separate video on that, but you have to be very honest, and I would say that you have to understand, you have to use words like which actually show the emotions, which can actually trigger the customer to actually make an action, or I would say drive the action. So in conclusion, if you're going to connect to your customers, you use storytelling, if I may, use visual elements, if I may, use emotions, if I may, with which they can connect with you. Otherwise, your message is going to be just read, maybe connected by the robots on the internet, but not by the humans. But if you're doing business where you're selling to humans, this is something you have to follow.